Savani, were you just raising your hand to let us know we were muted? Okay, thank you. With the recording now on, I'll just mention I gave a preamble for council on the rationale for bringing rezoning as a discussion. Wanted to hear council's preliminary thoughts, and then we can have a deeper dive at a future meeting with our contract plan.
We should also acknowledge that roll call was taken and quorum was determined.
And all 6 current council members are present. Thank
you. I appreciate that we're tying these two discussion items together because I think it is a good sort of catalyst. I think the main question that I would have, or broader question that I'd have about rezoning, is more, I trust our planning commission to really steer zoning issues. I think the thing that I want to be mindful of on the broader sense is that food trucks are becoming more common, especially on the coast. I think that a lot of small food businesses are recognizing that operationally speaking, it's more beneficial to them to be able to be temporary in a market that fluctuates greatly with the tourism season. That rather than having a fixed, restaurant that for several months could go very much in the red, that they need to make up for significantly in the tourism season just to stay on balance. I think that food trucks give a different level of flexibility, the ability to move your business around to opportunities, while also being able to close down at times that are slow, that are not going to be beneficial to your business to be open. I think that we as a city should look at any laws, any zoning factors that could inhibit the growth of food truck businesses within Toledo, or could make it possible for food trucks to be able to come in and set up either in a permanent, semi-permanent, or completely, mobile way. On a more granular level, when we think about Seabreeze, which is the vendor that this issue began with, my main question on that is, why is one property zoned separately within itself? Why is half of a particular sort of commercial property zoned differently? That's just not something that I fully understand. So why is it that on one side of the Port of Toledo's parking lot, it's okay for her to be set up in the way that she wants to be set up, but in the other side of it, it's not? There are no property lines in between. Maybe it's different parcels that are adjacent to one another, and I could understand that.
Different ownership? Currently, there are no property lines in between. I suspect we're gonna find the answer was at one time.
And that's why I'm thinking parcels,
Yeah.
right?
I think at one time we might have had different parcels,
Yep.
now they're put together, and that may be exactly why they're zoned differently. We've had that at the Elks building too.
Yeah. So I think that's the kind of thing that I'd like to be evaluating, is to determine whether or not there are some of these properties that have been joined up in this way. And now, because this is just the way my brain works and I can't help it, I realize that we've not revisited the orphan roads question in several months. So the roads that are kind of existing within city limits only briefly, that are partially owned by the county, that we don't have the ability to do anything with. I just realized that that's a question that we brought up in the fall, and I think our goal was to try to put together a list of any of these orphan roads within the city, and I don't think we've talked about it since.
I think there might be a list somewhere already.
We have a list.
Yeah, and just real quick, Mr. Lorimore put together all the information, and then as you know, he was out for an extended period, and you're absolutely right. We haven't circled back on that, so I'll put that back on our list. Thank you.
Sweet. But yeah, so really, I don't want us, I don't personally, individually, I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I don't want to do kind of the job of the planning commission or kind of get in the way of them having the authority over the space that they've been appointed to work within. I just want to make sure that when we are recognizing kind of the ubiquity of food trucks in Lincoln County and how it's growing, how that industry is growing here, I want to make sure that we don't have laws, zoning restrictions, anything that unnecessarily inhibits their ability to do business, to bring people to Toledo, to really just encourage more people to get into those types of businesses, or to just do business here.
I would echo everything that Andrew just said, plus emphasize that we should be kicking this to the planning commission. When we were talking about needing some traffic calming measures, I don't even think we knew it was called that at the time. We sent that down to the planning commission, basically said, hey, here's an assignment.
Yeah.
And they did a wonderful job. And they took the assignment, they said, okay, what's our goal? And then they did it. I think we could literally say, you guys do what you need to do, present us with some ideas on, or recommended changes to make Toledo more food truck friendly. Yes.
Since we're talking about zoning, I think it would be a good idea to have just a basic primer. Because we haven't had one for years.
Sure.
And then we can look at some of the borders, like what Andrew's talking about, and use what we learned to make the decisions.
Absolutely. Very.
The decisions based on the planning commission's recommendation?
No. Decisions on which ones we
That's what I'm
think
trying
the
to
planning
say.
commission needs to look at. We need to understand the zoning,
Yeah,
and I don't.
okay.
After this many years, I still do not have a clear understanding
Oh,
of the difference between a Z3 and a Z2 and a,
yeah, I don't think they're called that anymore, but yes.
you know what I mean? It's just all
Yeah.
so confusing. And a basic primer to refresh
Well, all the terms
and
have changed.
educate. Exactly.
All the terms have changed in the
I
last 5
realized
years.
that when I went to the housing thing, I was like, what are they talking about? It was all acronyms and stuff that have changed since the last one I went to. You know, so it's like, and that's how I feel about zoning. So just a basic rundown again.
Sure.
And then we can look at where they border and might conflict and say, hey, the planning commission needs to look at this one, please.
And that one was a public lands, right?
Yeah, one section is public lands and then the other one is water dependent. And I looked up on the GIS, you might have seen it on there too, Counselor. You're right, there's no property line between the two sections, but they are indeed separate parcels.
Counselor Burns is like waiting.
One's
patiently.
parking,
That's the
one's
question.
park.
So, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this. We're talking about the,
Parking.
just the parking lot.
Yeah, in,
Just,
Yeah,
but they want to move out of the parking lot into what,
the other side of it.
so Counselor Burns, there's Waterfront Park and up where the cul-de-sac is. And then on the south end of the mound of the park, we'll call it, there's a long parking lot. And that parking lot is roughly divided at Second Street. And the north end of the lot, I forget which is which, but there's the north end and the south end. One is zoned public lands, the other is zoned water dependent. So it's one piece of property, it's all a parking lot that actually has different zoning depending on whether you're north or south of the
so
crosswalk.
it doesn't have anything to do with the port then?
It does, it's the port's property.
It's property.
And but the city establishes zoning throughout the city. So we actually decide what the port's land is zoned.
All right.
Yeah. And so with Seabreeze, for example, they wanted, and again, I forget which is which on the specific zones,
North
but
end is where they want to be.
they want to be able to set up in the north end, and whichever zone applies to that piece, they're not allowed under the criteria of that zoning to leave the vehicle there overnight. They'd have to go in and out every day. We offered them the opportunity to set up in the southern portion where she could leave the vehicle overnight, but that area was not her desired location. So you've got an area where you could do it that the owner prefers not, and the one where they can't is where they want to be. So that's what.
Why she wants to be closer to the bathroom.
Sure.
She wants to be closer to the ramp. So she does fish processing as well, so
Okay,
it's,
so that makes sense too.
it's about bringing the fish literally right up from the water, up the ramp.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Just a couple thoughts on it. I think I agree with like 95% of what Andrew was suggesting on the zoning side. I think a general look is good. I also agree. I think the planning commission is the right place to start that conversation
Definitely.
and let them have a crack at it and then bring it up. I mean, obviously, we want to have some constraints. I don't really want a food truck necessarily in my residential neighborhood. And although if it's tacos, we could talk.
Tacos, they can park in my driveway.
Maybe there's some exceptions, but I think you said the same thing. You said like all practical places or something like that.
Well,
I think
yeah, it's also, I think that it's more about we shouldn't necessarily be getting in the way of private property owners who want a food truck on their space to be able to allow for a food truck to be on their space. If, there's a reasonableness aspect of it. Residential is where to get a little bit.
absolutely don't want my a residential property owner to be able to do that necessarily. But I don't think that's what your intent is with it. But the only broader question, and I think I would encourage council, just somewhere in our goals that we said, we talked a little bit about trying to look broadly at storefronts and commercial businesses and STCs, and there are some real advantages for food trucks in that they don't have water sewer system development charges, they don't have traffic impact fees. And so the barrier to market entry is decreased, like they can deploy nimbly. And that's a great advantage. But it shouldn't come at the cost of a disadvantage to people who are trying to fill a storefront. So like in my ideal world, we sort of take these questions in tandem and see if we can also remove those barriers to the brick and mortar, restaurants that have made those investments in our community as well.
Because I would add, I think that one question that has come up fairly recently was the idea of a food truck, or a hot dog stand or something like that, parking itself on Main Street or in this parking lot right here, with all of its toxic gases. But too soon. I'd have very strong negative feelings about that idea because I don't like the idea of taking what limited parking away, from the storefronts that are here on Main Street. We're trying to also seek growth there, and ideally I would like a food truck to bring more people to Toledo and hopefully, stimulate some economy for those businesses as well. But that's not going to happen if people are having to walk a quarter mile up the hill or down the steep hill or whatever, because there isn't any parking on Main Street. So I think that there's a reasonableness factor to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I was driving at is I think we need to make sure that our zoning is flexible enough to allow for people to reasonably allow for their property to be utilized by food trucks, but at the same time, we need to be mindful that we don't want a food truck kind of slapped in the middle of a clear residential area.
Well, and to just riff off of what you said a little bit, I totally agree, but it would be great to have food trucks draw people into our community to buy food. If we looked at that, and this is what I'm saying, we like trying to put the same lens on for both questions, because if that was a brick and mortar restaurant, then they've got a big old traffic impact fee that we're generating because of these unique vehicle trips coming into the community. So we're disadvantaging them because, you're gonna have people driving on a roadway. Food truck doesn't have that barrier, which is great. I just want to remove that barrier for everybody.
I want to ask a stupid question. How do we charge people a traffic impact fee? Where does that come in?
Like a transportation STC.
It's only the SDCs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And, you know, I would also mention here that Seabreeze was a little unique in that they wanted specifically to be able to stay in one place for an extended period. Most food trucks will come to Toledo for a day and then go to another community the next day, another community the day after that. So we want to be mindful as we have this conversation that the vendor that initially kind of brought this to a head for discussion is somewhat unique within this very industry as well.
what about ice cream trucks? I'm not saying it's a food truck,
I
but
think that was the example that I was thinking of,
Yeah.
that somebody was suggesting parking on Main Street or parking in his.
well, what the
Yeah.
suggestion was that he could go to each of the parks during the summer and park at each truck for a little while. But apparently we can't do that in our current rules. No. So it would be nice if they could look into something for them.
I think, and then I guess the other question that I have is, are we making sure that these folks who have food trucks are also still getting business licenses here in Toledo? Tiny little impact thing that we could potentially get, they're $40 or whatever, $65, a year if somebody is coming in and doing, setting up a business. I think for Seabreeze, the example there was they want to be able to move their truck when they have opportunities elsewhere, but at the same time be able to have their kind of primary location be, at the Port of Toledo's parking lot. They're still a food truck. They're still going to go to like the East Lincoln Fire District's grand opening on the 4th of July, whether they were parked here or parked out by Dairy Queen, which is where they've been since this zoning led them to move. But
So it's, I kind of have got a sense that a zoning primer might be a good place to start. Justin Peterson is going to be at your July 15th meeting for the traffic calming ordinance. So we could add zoning as a discussion item that evening, kind of start the conversation from there. And then maybe the next step after that, once we've had that kind of primer, is maybe a joint meeting with the Planning Commission. Okay.
I think we should be having like a joint meeting with the planning commission at least twice a year.
we were talking about that at the
retreat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oregon City's thing too.
This is a good topic to start that process, and we can make it a regular thing going forward. Very good. Any other, I know we kind of put those two together at the start. Are there any other comments? We've talked about there's a lower barrier to entry for food trucks than a brick and mortar restaurant. Is there any other thoughts council wanted to share tonight about being open as a community, to food trucks that it's something you may want the staff to look into at all?
We need a taco truck, somebody needs to find one of those.
And then just to confirm, have the food trucks that are setting up frequently in Toledo, are they required to have, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes, business licenses here in Toledo, and have we checked to make sure that they are doing that? So, I hate to be the guy who's trying to make sure that we're not putting any barriers, but at the same time, businesses, large or small, that are doing regular business.
I was going to say, at the same time, equal treatment, absolutely. That I forget the exact topic, but I was having the conversation with somebody recently that until we change the law, we have to apply it,
Yep.
right? So the short answer is, if you're operating in Toledo, you have to have a business license. Whether we have been enforcing that, with regularity is a conversation I'll have with our code enforcement officer at our next code enforcement meeting, because that would fall under his purview. I don't know that it has been necessarily something that has been high on the list, but we definitely do need to make sure that we're applying our codes equally.
Would
Councilor
that
Burns?
apply to food vendors at the Thursday market then?
Not at the Thursday market, because they fall under the overall business license of the
I
chamber
didn't think
itself.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, good question though, thank you. All right, Madam Mayor, that's all I had from staff on A and B this evening.
Okay. Should we move on to C?
Let's do it.
I see a C dot transportation, but I don't necessarily see anything directly to packet.
Yeah, we didn't include anything specific to this one in the packet. Transportation had just been a topic that's been on the agenda tracker for discussion with council. That originally had started with a focus on the Highway 20 and 229 interchange. I know that was added to the list. Councilor Keating, do you have anything you want to?
So I was the one who had asked for transportation to be put on a work session. This was back a couple months ago. And it was, God, it must have been back late fall.
It was right after that last bad accident.
Yeah, and so the reason why was because I was connecting with a few people on CWACT on the Area Commission for Transportation, Cascades West Area Commission for Transportation, which I learned last week. I'm now on the executive committee.
Thank you.
Yay.
Think of a better guy.
I was invited to the executive committee meeting. I, about halfway through, texted two of the people who were on the call saying, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And then they interrupted the meeting to say, Andrew Keating just mentioned that he doesn't think he's supposed to be here. Just want to let everybody know he is the newest member of the executive committee. Oh, great. Well, anyway, so the reason I wanted to put this on was because back then I wanted the city to advocate for the intersection of 20 and 229 to be placed on ODOT's top projects list, top priority projects list. Basically, the 10 projects that ODOT was going to focus on getting done, or at least kicked off this next fiscal year. And I can say that, and obviously, I think I mentioned this at our last meeting. I didn't think that transportation needed to be on tonight's meeting. Because I didn't think there was anything else for us to really discuss about it. I have not had an actual CWACT meeting since I was appointed to that commission. That is tomorrow, so I might have some updates at our next meeting.
What about our east entrance into? I mean, that thing is sinking again. I mean, you can almost get some air off of that thing if you go fast enough.
On which?
I haven't tried that at all.
On which did you say?
East Junction.
East Junction?
Oh.
Exit 7.
I do know that Highway 20 has 3 different projects out of the like top 10 priority. Highway 20 is a big focus for ODOT this upcoming year, but this is one of the highest priority projects. So it is on the list.
Parts of 20?
Off the top of my head, I do not. But the intersection of 229 and 20 is on that list.
Councilor, do you?
Another one I want to say is in Corvallis, and another one is farther in east, way out of not really super relevant to Toledo.
Councilor, do you know, you mentioned that the intersection is a priority project. Have they talked about what they plan to do with that intersection yet, or just that it's on the list?
No, just that there's a lot of concern with the landslide plays a huge factor into why that's become such a priority. The increased traffic from everybody who's typically gone to that area from the north no longer can get to Sluts from the north, so they're all coming down 101 and across, and then having to go north via 229. So that increased traffic is part of the reason why we're seeing increased accidents and issues.
Wasn't there talk about a roundabout?
That's one of the options.
Or a stoplight?
I think part of it is they know that something needs to be improved there. The question is, how do they improve it? So I think,
Especially with private property, right? That's smack dab in the middle.
so they're gonna come in, probably do an assessment, and then go from there. So it could be a proper light, could be roundabout, could be a full reconstruction of that that whole little area, so.
And there's private driveways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides the private business, there's private driveways.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun.
And
It's not
there's
gonna be quick.
there's so much land there. The only thing that would keep from making a roundabout, I think, immediately feasible without taking out the private business would be that the Depot Creek is so close to the actual intersection right now that you're getting into wetlands really quickly.
What do you call it?
Depots.
Well, Google Maps calls it Depot Creek, so thank you. I Depot Slough, thank you.
Yeah,
But there's a waterway just
It has a couple
north of
little
the
turns.
intersection.
Yeah.
And so that will definitely, I'm sure, play a part in their evaluation.
And I think, Andrew, if at any point it would be helpful for us to have like a joint statement or a resolution or something to aid those efforts, I think from my perspective, I'd love us to do it. Anything you can do to help encourage them to improve that intersection is,
Absolutely.
I think the next person from dying there is
Yes.
terrible.
And it's just because people, they won't slow down to 45, they won't pay attention, they just speed on through.
Yeah.
Okay, my youngest is gonna be on the road pretty soon and I'm scared.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really, you start to think about going out Arcadia because that's a safer left-hand turn and then turning right onto 229 to avoid having to cross,
Yeah.
the gauntlet there. And with the turn lane, it's even worse, just terrible. It's awful.
No, it's always been a problem, so.
Well, you're gonna get that, are you gonna be able to control it better with a light? If
course,
they
they
don't
have
wanna
to
slow
stop.
down. That's the theory.
Well, the spike strips just before the light will help.
Nice.
We'll really launch them up. No, we've gotta behave, no, only legal
there's
measures.
noise bumps.
I'm gonna get myself in some trouble up here. Anyway,
Slow down.
yeah, anyway.
They
we-
play music nowadays, there's noise bumps.
Do they?
Yeah, so you can make it so that when they run over, it says,
Oh, interesting.
Whenever I hit those ones on the
Sorry.
side of the road, you're gonna do, the only music that happens, my husband starts screaming.
It got value engineered out of the Selwood Bridge project in Portland, but when they were putting that down, they were gonna groove the concrete to play like dun, 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 stay in the light.
Oh, that would be cool. That would have been
As you
cool.
crossed, which would have been a pretty neat thing, but
But they didn't do it?
yeah, they had to raise like vehicle registration fees to build it, so I think that the scope of the project got narrowed a bit.
And there wasn't just a whole bunch of excitement for
I
that?
guess not. Yeah, not as much enthusiasm
someplace
as I
in
had.
Texas, plays the yellow ones in Texas.
Really?
If you drive down the road. And there's
Oh, sure.
another one that
I
plays
find it.
America the Beautiful or something.
I don't think we're gonna get anything like that, unfortunately.
Just one that says slow down.
All right, have we beaten transportation to death?
I think so.
Let's move on to an event permit ordinance.
So what this opportunity for discussion this evening really is obviously we've had a lot of discussion this summer about our event permitting process and what events need to what organizations need to apply and when, and there was discussion about what happens if our threshold is 50 people, and what happens if we don't apply because we don't think we're going to get 50 and then we do. Are we in trouble? So wanted to bring back for discussion with council. Are there any refinements? Are there any questions that you would like answered about what that process is? Are there any refinements that you'd like to suggest that you want your staff to look into, or do you really need kind of a more thorough debriefing on what our ordinance currently is? So I wanted to open the conversation this evening on what exactly council is looking for on this topic. So just a general preliminary introduction this evening.
It seemed like we were looking for some consistency across the board because it hasn't been applied consistently.
Yeah.
It is, at least that's my recollection. Is there?
We keep finding
And
exceptions
yeah.
to the rule.
And we wanted to codify those. If they're gonna be real exceptions, let's just make it apply to everybody.
And I know that that was, a goal of council in the resolution that we ultimately passed, because it started with, we're just going to apply it to the Thursday market. And then there was discussion about, well, if we're going to do this for this type of event that the chamber's hosting, then let's do it for all events that meet, whatever criteria that we establish. So then we started getting other questions. I mentioned a second ago, the 50 people. You're definitely not going to get any arguments from your city manager about applying it equally to all.
I'm not, you got hand signals going behind you there.
Oh, do I? Mr. Johnson?
I would just say it and me, it wouldn't bother me any.
Oh, but I know there was discussion, or there was even uncertainty amongst council and staff as we've started to try to apply it equally. Like I mentioned earlier, just as an example, the question of, okay, well, I'm expecting 40 people, so I don't apply for the permit, and then I ended up having 52 people. Am I in trouble? And my first thought was absolutely not. You were operating within the spirit of the law. Next year, you'll know, okay, we're going to have 50 people. I need to do the application. But as we talked about some of those questions, I think there was some discussion amongst the council of, the rate that we're charging. Is it reasonable? Do we want to charge a rate? Is that rate reflective of the time that staff spends reviewing these? Not that they have to be, but and that kind of plays into the next item on the agenda. But I just really wanted to hear from the council, from what you've experienced so far with this topic. We definitely can as the staff, myself, the city attorney, we can look at the ordinance and bring you any recommendations that we have. But I really wanted to just introduce it this evening and ask if council had any thoughts that they wanted us to start with.
Well, it's funny, when I went to the meeting of the serial killers this morning, we get up early, told them they were all must be serial killers, so they thought it was fun.
That would be the Toledo Rotary Club.
Yes, that would be the
Anyone
Rotary.
wondering?
They were asking about something and whether or not they needed to get a permit for it, or how much it was gonna cost, and I told her we were working on some of it, so we'd get back to her. So there's, people realize that we are working on this, and the nonprofits are kind of hearing about it, and I think they're glad that we're doing something here, that we're kind of getting those rules honed down and kind of be able to easily explain to them who applies and who doesn't.
They might fall into the local Toledo civic organizations, which are generally recognized as such and are first approved by the Toledo City Council.
Yes.
And that just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it?
So my only questions on this one were kind of Savani questions, but the extent to which it applies to private property, and then the extent to which it would apply to freedom of assembly. So, I'm not sure that we could tell a church that they can't have 50 people at an outdoor event at their property under any circumstance. But then more broadly, my kid's going to graduate, Lord willing, from high school in a couple of years. It's totally conceivable that we're going to have 50 people in a little reception that afternoon or something, and have some we're all invited.
In your backyard, I'm not sending Ron Bush or anybody. I don't think it does apply to private property.
That's the way I read to exempt it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so that's where I just thought, maybe we want to take a little bit.
I think there's some language in there that talks about if it's for the public, the general public.
Got it. So
So if it's invite only, it's not considered the same kind of thing. We just had this whole situation with doing the same thing.
So we'll just clarify the council president's wording a minute ago was that invite was only to the people in the room, not to the entire community.
Yes, good point.
We can definitely take a look at.
My city.
Exactly.
Then I'm not coming.
Yeah, bring everybody with.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that one.
We can definitely look at the wording around that section, Council President, and see if it needs to be refined or clarified. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it should apply to churches because they have constitutional protections that we should honor. But
God has already forgiven them.
but we've got to, I just thought if it does feel like a retirement party in somebody's backyard is gonna trigger this thing, we should probably pull it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And going back to, from the previous topic, going back to the idea of applying the law equally.
Yeah.
I think the last thing me, Chief Pace, Sergeant Pitcher, Mr. Bush, I don't think any of them want to be going around monitoring how many people are in your backyard or anybody else.
Nope.
Right. So I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there should be any ambiguity that this applies, that does not apply to private property.
One item to just consider on that, if there's, and maybe the city already has a separate permit for this, but if it's a commercial event, or if you're charging a fee on your private property that's going to be more than 50 people, like a concert, I don't know how likely that is, but that's another scenario you might want to consider.
You charging a cover at your kid's graduation party, Council President?
I mean,
Specifically.
I'll start. We'll have a karaoke by donation, so technically under the threshold. But I think that would be triggered by our zoning rules. I don't think that we would allow a
If there's karaoke, we're all coming.
commercial event.
I can't bring my city.
You just donate your local chords, what's the deal?
Yeah.
I will come. You don't want to know what it would take to get me to actually sing.
It's gonna be a lot of alcohol.
Well, that's covered in this, so we gotta make sure it's not, we gotta make sure it doesn't require an event.
That's true.
It's gonna be like a WSU frat party.
Okay, we're getting off topic.
Never.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. So, Counselor, are there any other thoughts on this topic? And then, Council President's comments and any others this evening, the city attorney and I can take and look at the code and bring you back any recommendations we may have. By all means, Mr. Johnson.
One of the things that I would like to emphasize for the city council to look at, and for instance, you want to do, is streamlining the process a little bit more. Currently, we have an event application. We also have a parade and processions application. Why can't those be the same thing?
Yeah.
We have a couple of different alcohol permits that you have to get if you're going to serve alcohol. And I think one of them is just a city generated one versus an OLCC one. Why are we making them fill out our permit and the OLCC permit? Isn't the OLCC permit enough? These are the kind of things that I'm seeing come across my desk when people are applying for events that I don't know the answers necessarily to. And it seems like it's a historical thing rather than a.
And it also feels like red tape. Oh, how many different applications do we need to keep track of? How many hoops do we need to make them jump through? That's not what we want to be doing.
Well, and I think I'd be curious to what my fellow counselors think of this, but at the heart of it, what you're suggesting, Paul, doesn't feel like it's something that we even need to touch. If our city manager and city staff identify paperwork and processes, that's not us.
Yeah.
So my point is that I think we as a council would probably, I feel like I've heard this enough times that I feel comfortable saying this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This council wants our staff to be as unburdened as possible, or have the least kind of strain on resources as possible. And so I think I would personally encourage that if you see that those applications can be joined in a way that simplifies the process, I can't see why this council should get in the way of staff simply doing that.
We're more than happy to
could be
give
codified
feedback
somewhere,
though,
though.
once you have it.
It
What
could
is
be
that?
codified.
I think that's the point I'm trying to make, is that
Yeah.
I think there are some things in the ordinance that are driving portions of the application process.
Okay.
And I wanted to make sure that we all kind of get in line to make it easier for people to apply,
Yeah.
and that
And-
things are clearly delineated for them.
And that would be, to Councilor Keating's point, what Paul just said is exactly where my mind went, was, well, if the code specifically says there's this application and this application, then if we want to say, oh, it's one application, that's where we would need to come back to you. And that's a hypothetical. I don't know if that's the case,
And I
but
think-
Councilor Kaufman, as you said, it could be
The
codified.
alcohol permit's been in existence forever before OLCC started.
Exactly.
And now they have to do
Oh, that makes sense.
still have to do the city one.
And I think that if there are processes,
We are
like,
older than
like
the
you're saying, so
Right.
I'll go back to these multiple forms that, these multiple permit forms that might need to be done. So using Summerfest as the example, they've got alcohol, they've got a parade, they've got, their event. If it's one application and there are some things in our, in our council-driven policies that are getting in the way of you putting those together, I would say, personally, I would say find the ways to simplify it, bring it to us to vote on, and I feel like that's going to be one of the fastest conversations we have, which is, going to be, yes, go ahead, do that, whatever it takes, because I trust that our city manager and our city attorney are going to identify the things that we have to codify or that we have to change to make it possible for what you need to work.
Yeah.
So as much as I can appreciate Paul saying, hey, I hope you guys will think about this, I'd say, bring us what you need, and it's going to be really unlikely for us to say no to it.
I would agree with that.
Perfect.
Let us support you in doing your job, but go forth.
Excellent. Thank you. Savani, between the two of us, one of us will try to remember to have this on our agenda for next Monday. Perfect. All right, that's all I have on the event. That's all I have on item D, Madam Mayor.
That was item D. Oh, we still have one more.
Yes.
Item E, it is the city fee schedule.
Paul, you want to take that one?
Madam Mayor and Council, it's traditionally been a yearly review of the fee schedule to see if the fees need to increase for any particular reason. The planning department's probably the one that had the most increase in the fees this year. It was like a 4% increase, I think, but they kind of rounded up. So instead of 24.63, it went to 25 kind of thing. And included in your packet for tonight is the updated fee schedule, what we're going to recommend next week passed. There's only one thing in there that and I got to talk to Rich about it before the next meeting, but there's some stuff regarding records requests I think that we should clearly put in there to help people understand what our fees are so they can clearly see it when it goes to a certain level of record request. These are the fees you are going to incur. Are there any questions? The last time we changed these was September of last year. We're trying to get ahead of the curve so we can have them effective July 1st.
Perfect.
And going forward in future years, we're going to try to do that to align the fee schedule with the start of the budget year so that it's not changing at a random time. The reason we do the utilities a little bit earlier is those are billed in arrears. So when we bring them forward to you at the end of May, they then go into effect with the next billing cycle, which is as close as we can get to that new budget year. So we are going to try to start aligning when we address fees of any type. We're going to start trying to align that regularly as close to the start of the next budget year as we can. So I anticipate just putting the fee schedule on your consent agenda next week, next week, unless between now and then, Paul and I identify something that's a significant enough change that we want to bring it for discussion. But we wanted to present it this evening.
Great. Okay. Questions? So now we're done with our discussion and information items. We can move on to issue tracker and future agenda items. Did you want to say anything about that, or just open it up to questions?
I don't have anything to add on those items. They're in your packet. I'm open to any comments or items you'd like to see added.
Rich and I have chatted about this one previously, so it won't be a surprise, but I would enjoy having council spend some time trying to think about like a more extreme code enforcement ordinance or a blight ordinance or something that would let us get at specific buildings that are like decaying to the ground or the blackberries are growing over the top of them, and have some sort of escalating fine schedule that, you know, your first month is $50, your second month is $100, your third month is $200, and your fourth month is $400.
So more aggressive approach.
Exactly, so that we, you know, even, it's sort of shameful that a partner government agency owns a terribly blighted building in our city and seems to have no interest in either maintaining the building or getting rid of it.
Or transferring it.
Yeah, or scraping it, and I would love to have a mechanism to just help kind of get their attention.
Are you talking about the apron?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, not to pick on them, there's also private owners who have different ones, and
That's pretty easy to pick up.
and to be clear, I mean, my goal here is compliance, so like if scraping the building to absolve themselves of the fees would be a perfectly fine remedy for me.
Absolutely.
If it ever came to that, but just some sort of creative tool that we could use to try to get at those specific problems.
Fix it or hand it over.
And there, you know, and I love that, and I'll tack onto it something else that a couple of us have talked about at one point or another, as well as something relatively new. One that a few of us have discussed the idea of vacancy-related fees. So Pendleton, for example, last year, the city of Pendleton passed a new ordinance or whatever to make it so that if a business property remains vacant for an extended period of time, that the property owner would incur a fee. And that was trying to encourage that in their kind of economic development area, their urban renewal area, whatever they call it, that they were trying to see actual recruitment of new businesses to come into their business spaces, as opposed to leaving them vacant because there's some other benefit to leaving them vacant. That those fees would kind of offset the value of whatever vacancy that property owner is benefiting from. So I would like for us to actually discuss that a little bit and see whether that's something that in a space like we have right now, where I think I hear from a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but several organizations or businesses that have wanted to move onto Main Street are going to look at some of the spaces, finding that they're either in terrible disrepair, are way too expensive for their size or location, or both. They are finding that the property owner is unwilling to budge on price, or they may be unwilling to pay for the cost of any repairs that are necessary. So to move in, you have to repair the terribly out of code, bad facilities that you'd be wanting to rent and paying an above premium price for a space that businesses have continuously failed to do well in. So whatever we can do to kind of incentivize, whether it's bringing down rental rates or whatever, I think I'd like for us to have a discussion about how we can either incentivize or penalize businesses in a way that encourages business growth or business recruitment to our city would be great. And then the other thing that your idea kind of triggered in the back of my mind, and this is not thought out in any way except that I've kind of noodled on it once before, very, very briefly, is from an urban renewal agency perspective, can we get more proactive in identifying projects in our community where maybe we do some outreach directly to some of the businesses or property owners where there is significant, blight, where some of these properties are in bad shape, and say, hey, we as an urban renewal district want to come in and help to improve this because we have recognized that this particular property that you have is in such bad shape and so centrally located that maybe it would be more beneficial for us to incur some cost or to find a way to, beautify or improve or whatever. I don't know how feasible that is. I feel like that gets into the sort of territory of, we pick a business that we sort of provide some special, or some property
You want to
owner.
reward bad behavior.
Right.
But acquisition might be a urban renewal remedy that would work. an instance like that.
Yeah.
We need to start somewhere. And I think that having the discussion about the vacancy fees, I will tell you, the first time that this was mentioned when I was up on the dais, I swore that would never happen as long as I was a city councilor here. I had changed my mind on that position. I never thought I would be somebody that did that. I was very, very much against penalizing somebody for what they chose to or not to do with their property. But I've been in this position long enough, I realize that owning a commercial property on a main thoroughfare in a community, you have a responsibility beyond yourself. You have a responsibility to how attractive or unattractive you make that for other businesses to want to be there or to be able to be there. And if we have owners who are choosing not to do what they need to do to rent out their properties, they are contributing to the problem. And it's not an attack on that individual, it's reminding them of their responsibilities and being proactive in protecting our business community from the negative effects of it. So that's just kind of where I stand. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. We need to be doing something and we need to start doing it now.
I befriended a couple of the counselors in Pendleton. We were there a couple months ago. I might reach out to them and see how that took shape and if they've started to see any benefits. I mean, I know that they've only had it for 6 or 7 months or something, but I'd be curious to hear what the business community's response to it was.
Maybe we could reach out to other communities too, if there is some way to find other ones, communities who have had this in place longer.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, if we had a few different examples, that would be good. So maybe that's, I don't want to put too much on your plate, Rich, but is that something that you would be able to look into?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, you got it.
And I love the idea of having that conversation, totally on board with it. I think it's separate from the blight question.
Yes, it
is.
I just want to make sure that this,
They both need to be
exactly.
on there.
Yeah, totally.
And properties that you have in mind
I mean, I think,
that are on Main Street.
you're talking about the vacancy thing. I have some blight ones now. I'll defer my colleagues on the other question.
Just drive home, I have some in mind. I mean,
Right, yeah.
do I have any specific ones in mind?
Does anybody have any?
Oh, there's a lot of them that have been vacant for a long time, that the business owners are doing nothing or very little to rent out.
Main
property owners, right.
Street is starting to see, I should say, positive growth in terms of just the number of occupied spaces. But at the time that I joined this council, I want to say only 18 of our business addresses along Main Street were occupied out of about 40. And I want to say that number has only grown by like 2 or 3 because a couple have closed or a couple have moved. I think that number has gone up a little bit in the last year and a half. And it's still, if, the Italian restaurant comes in, if Dempsey's opens, if a couple of those things happen, sure, we start moving into a place where we're a little bit more full. But, we have entire buildings of multiple business spaces, that have been vacant for a very long time. I think, Tracy, you were hoping to move into one of them.
Yeah, I'm excited to do that now.
But there are, quite a lot of spaces that have been vacant for as long as I've lived here. And I know that's only a couple of years, but with no movement.
That's too long.
And I keep hearing from from people in the community that they are interested in being in Toledo, but they are being priced out of it, or the cost of the repairs that are necessary just to exist in that space are too great, or both.
Absolutely. So yeah,
We can definitely put both of those topics on for future discussion and hopefully some action.
does anybody else have anything else that, Jack, when are we gonna start talking about the pet parade, the private scene board?
Maybe next month, since we're at
August.
this. I do have a question, and I don't remember if it was you, Jack, or if it was you, Mayor, talking about the stray cats.
No, that wasn't me.
Okay.
I have
so
all mine named.
I just have a question about that, because we did an ordinance, yes?
No.
Did we create
We haven't yet.
We were going to, Lisa from the Humane Society, we were going to invite her back, I believe, to come and talk to us about it more concretely.
Okay,
She
well,
went on a European vacation, and I know she's been back for a couple months, we just haven't scheduled it since.
so the reason I bring it up is that I was coming back from a walk and my little wiener dog went down Wagon Road instead of up
Mhm.
where I live. And down there, I hadn't ever walked before, but I couldn't find her.
Okay.
She came home and she barfed up 3 big piles of glop. It turns out that the old guy that lives down there free feeds feral cats, and she woofed up. Anyway, so is there anything, I've just been thinking about it, because I met the woman, very kind, sweet woman. We just love them but they're not spayed or neutered.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
So-
Once they gotta get those populations spayed and neutered to be able to get them under control so those cats can have at least a happy life.
So my question is, do I report that, and to whom would, and I'm not sure, but I mean, I see a lot of
I
cats.
think you just talk to her about how do you connect with them and ask her if she's reached out to some of these organizations and maybe go to the organizations and talk to them about her. I'm
Okay.
thinking of like PER and the Humane Society.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a city responsibility.
I'm not even sure if it's on city property, because Wagon Road, where I live, is county.
They're probably overwhelmed by the amount of cats that they have with the cost.
It's, and the services.
It might be a registered colony.
The services that organize this stuff are county level anyway.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, there's nothing wrong with necessarily putting something into, like, if you call the non-emergency number, like the police non-emergency number, then it could get redirected. I don't know that would
Yeah,
necessarily do anything, but
I already
like,
have experience with that, so, yeah.
I was very happy to see the county's animal services vehicles were in town actually just today. But no, my neighbor's yard is a place that just got a fresh litter of loose cats just this week.
So they got little babies running around.
Uh-huh.
Oh, they're so cute,
Yeah.
and then they grow up and be on everything.
At least once a year. So
I will loop back with Lisa again. Thank you for the reminder that I wanted to give her a little time after she got back. And
do you know Lisa? I know her pretty well. I can connect with her too if.
I haven't met her yet. So yeah, if you want to start that, counselor, that'd be great.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, no, of course, absolutely. Do we have anything else that we want to cover for a future agenda item? If not, I have one more thing I want to discuss with council, and that's gonna be it. You guys ready? Okay. I think many of you probably know that the city administrator in
St. Helens.
St. Helens, I was gonna say that, I was like, no, that's not right. In St. Helens tragically passed away in a boating accident. They have recovered his body, and that community is absolutely crushed.
Okay.
John Walsh. He was the type of city administrator that everybody else looked up to. He was very involved. How old was he? Oh, gosh.
50s. I don't know the exact
50s,
age, but 50s.
Early 60s, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's all I remember, you know,
Go.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know he'd been there almost 14 years. And anyway, I went out and I bought a card. Paul helped me with this message, and so I'm gonna go ahead and read it out. The city of Toledo extends its deepest condolences to the family, friends, colleagues, and community of St. Helens City Administrator John Walsh. Mr. Walsh dedicated nearly 14 years of service to the city of St. Helens, and his commitment to local government, public service, and the residents he served leaves a lasting legacy. His loss is deeply felt not only by those who knew and worked alongside him, but also the broader community of Oregon public servants who understand the dedication, care, and responsibility that comes with serving a city. On behalf of the city of Toledo, we offer our heartfelt sympathy to the city of St. Helens, the St. Helens City Council, city staff, and all who are grieving this tremendous loss. We hold Mr. Walsh's family and community in our thoughts during this difficult time. May his years of service, leadership, and commitment to community be remembered with gratitude and honor. And I put the city of Toledo, Oregon, and I was hoping we could all sign this and then the staff would have an opportunity to sign it and then I'll go ahead and send it their way. If everybody would do that, I think it would mean a lot to them.
Thanks for doing that. It's really nice.
Well, I didn't do it alone. It was a combined effort and Paul was very, very helpful in the effort. So, anyway, I'll go ahead and sign it and then we can pass it around. And
And did you use AI in drafting that?
I didn't. I just copied what he wrote.
I wrote several paragraphs, what I wanted to say, and I had AI help me fine tune it.
Refine
Isn't
it.
It's so nice the way it can just fine tune like that.
Know how lost we have been at times when things, when we didn't have that strong figure at the helm, and I just cannot imagine what they're going through right now. Yeah, we have this. I thank you all for that.
You're thoughtful.
Well, I'm trying to be more thoughtful. Doesn't always come naturally, but this job, sure, thoughtful too.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
And with that, does anybody else have anything to add for the good of the order? Chair? No? Okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn us at 7:52 PM. Thank you.